All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are halfway into the season for the Pittsburgh Penguins as we've played 41 games and, take from it what you will by where the Pens stand in the Eastern Conference standings and in the Metropolitan standings. It's been an interesting season for the Pens as, the other day I came on here and said that the team needs to follow Sidney Crosby around and there needs to be someone else to stand up to the reins. And while that is true, there are some other things that can be touched on for this team to reach their full potential. And it's crazy to say that, 18, 19 years into Sidney Crosby's career with the Pittsburgh Penguins, we finally have a sense of an identity of what this team's full potential truly is halfway through. What's going on, everybody? I am Mac, back with another video on this Friday afternoon with another video. As I said, as the Steelers season came to an end, that I would be pumping out more Pens content. Hopefully I can get back to streaming Pens games, depending on what my personal life has in store. But as always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram, link is in the box below. So just a little bit of a recap and some takeaways for the Pens as we are halfway into the season, as the Pens get ready to head out to Vegas to play the Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champion Golden Knights, who the Pens have had success against since they came in the league, but you can't take anything for granted, especially in the NHL where the parity is just always through the roof. So, like I said, for the first time in a while, it really does seem like I know who this Pens team truly is, as it was a little bit of an uncertain future when in years past where you couldn't put it on the scoring or the lack of defense or the bad power plays or the lack of net goaltending, because, we love to throw Matt Murray under the bus from when he was here. It came down to Mike Sullivan's stale coaching, especially in the playoffs. But, I came into this season with a little bit of speculation, because now that the disastrous tenure of Ron Hextall is over with and Dubas has came in and made some changes, and while he didn't undo all the bad mistakes that Hextall did, he did come in and overhaul this team, for the most part. And you're starting to see it rub off a little bit. Now, this Pens team is still in a pretty strange situation to where I truly don't think that they are good enough to win a Stanley Cup, because let's face it, you need to have more youth than ever, especially in today's league. And the Pens, with the average age on this team being almost 31 years old, you can't really focus on the move of the veterans or the veteran presence to guide you through 82 games every season. But it seems like with the Pens, for whatever reason, it's still keeping them in games, and they are doing their best to get that other guy to follow the captain of the team, which is where I stand by my statement that while you see guys like Jake Gensel and Evgeny Malkin stepping up to the range, still leading the team, and still, contributing the best to their team, I think that, in some cases too, Erik Karlsson stepping up. But I think the number one guy that is just head and shoulders the face of this team, and the glue that holds this team together, and the franchise for that matter, it's Sidney Crosby, man. Do you guys realize that this guy, not only is he 36 years old, but he's on pace to have the most goals in his career this season, Even better in the 2010 season where he netted 50 goals. In 41 games this season, Sid has 26 goals already. And he had 33 all of last season. You cannot say that about a whole lot of other players in the league, unless I guess it's Alex Ovechkin or prime Wayne Gretzky. But this guy, Sidney Crosby, while he's not really a guy that's going to get you 50 goals a year, it just kind of seems like every other year with Sid, he's good at one thing, but then you take a look at the other aspects of it, like, oh, he's just a great playmaker, but he kind of lacks in this a little bit. Oh, he's putting in goals this season, but, he's not really, getting the points in. Now he's doing what he does best, which is spread the puck around the ice and get everyone else involved on the ice, and he's getting in points and he's getting in the helpers, but the goals could still be up a little bit. Oh, he can't handle the face-offs, but when he's in the power play kill or when he's in transition, it's there. Oh, he's losing the wheels, but, it doesn't really seem to matter because all he has to do is just be on the ice and the players are already there just taking after him. Oh, his speed has lost a little bit, but like I said, all he needs to do is just be there. Oh, now his speed is back, but everyone else is slow. I don't get that sense with Sid this season. What I get when I've seen Sid on the ice this season is I just see the complete package with him. This very well could be the most complete season of his career. And he's just done everything well this year. He's done those play makes. He's putting in the goals, obviously. Like I said, 26 goals halfway through the season. He has 46 points on the season. And it is very possible that Sid could have a 90 plus, even a 100 point season on the year. He's going in with the face-offs and taking advantage of them. His speed, while it's not incredible, and yes, obviously it's not going to be what it was when he was in his 20s or early 30s, because you don't get faster with age. But he still has respectable speed. Like I said, he's doing everything this year. He has 5 points in the last 3, so the points are starting to get back in there while he is putting the puck behind the net. He's leading teams to comebacks, and while the Pens may not win every single time they come back like they did in that Vancouver game the other day, like last week I think it was, Sid is still leading the charge, and I think that the team owes it to him that if this guy was not playing at 100% and he's not doing everything this year, this team would be way worse than what their record indicates. And that's why I say he has to be a Hart Trophy contender this year. If you are not watching these games, or if you are not at least following these games and looking at the box score or watching the highlights or listening to podcasts or whatever, you would know firsthand that this team has as many wins as they do, and they are in the playoff hunt like they are because of number 87. And I'm telling you, I used to kind of be an advocate of, well, maybe if the Pens were in the market to trade Sidney Crosby, we could get a decent return from it because, let's face it, our farm system isn't the best. But I think this season alone has put those narratives to rest for me permanently. There is absolutely no way possible this team has to move on from Sid going forward. He has to spend his whole career in black and gold. He has to spend his whole career in Pittsburgh, and he just has to stay put here. Even if it means the farm has to be set back for years. even if it means it's going to mirror what the Pens were in the early 2000s when Mario Lemieux was on his last legs. You cannot afford to lose a generational top 10 player all time in Sidney Crosby. And I think that's what a lot of Pens fans are not going to understand once he's gone, because you just cannot find a replacement guy like that off a tree. It just doesn't come naturally like that. Sidney Crosby is by far the number one reason why this team is as competitive as they've been. Like I said, this is not a Stanley Cup team, but I do think they do sneak into the playoffs. And while I do have lingering suspicions about Mike Sullivan and his coaching abilities for right now, because, you know, it's been 6 years since the Pens have won a playoff series, and I'll never complain about beating the Philadelphia Flyers, let alone in a playoff series. But you need to come away with at least one playoff series this year to put those doubts to rest. Because there's no excuse this time. What were the excuses that I gave in all the other years? 2019, oh, well, you know, the New York Islanders were just head and shoulders the better team, and, you know, the Pens were kind of slumping in the playoffs. While I wasn't upset that they lost in the playoffs, I was upset that they got swept. 2020 was a weird year for everybody. I hardly even count it. And then 2021, once again, the Islanders, just the better team. 2022, well, the Pens choked a 3-1 lead, and, you know, you can kind of give them the benefit of the doubt because Tristan Jarry was hurt, and we had to go with Louis Domingue, and hopefully he never has to set foot on the ice again for the Pens, but still, the Pens had a 3-1 lead against New York. And then, of course, last year we missed the playoffs for the first time since 2006. But I'm telling you right now, if this team wastes potentially the best season that Sid has ever had in his career, there's no excuse anymore with coming up short in the playoffs. So like I said the other day, when I said the team needs to follow Sidney Crosby, this is the reason why. Because you take a look at other aspects like the power play goals, or the power plays, the Pens have not been good with it. And it's been a recurring issue all season. And, you know, getting Erik Karlsson in the offseason, you'd think that would fix it. That would benefit it a little bit more. This Pens team has not scored a power play goal in over half the games this year, and now they're bottom tier with it. And not even if they had a great power play, if they even had an average power play, the Pens could be higher in the Metro. The Pens could be further in playoff contention. So that's really the number one thing outside of the shaky defense, outside of the transition defense still, which I've been screaming at for years, and that's not going to go away until I fully see improvements with it, but it's the power plays. Like I said, even an average power play would have this team higher up in the standings. But on the flip side, the power play kill has been really good. How often do you see the Pens give up power play goals? How often do you see teams skate circles around the Pens during power play opportunities? You don't see that a whole lot because that seems to be the one time where the defense does step up when they're killing off 2 minutes on the clock. So I say keep that up right there for the Pens. And then let's talk about the goaltending. That was my biggest concern coming into this season because I was not on board with giving Jarry the extension. I did not think he was deserving of it. But to his credit, Jarry has been advertised, but has he truly lived up to that extension? Maybe some fans are saying yes, he has. Maybe some fans are saying, well, you're still in self-doubt with it. I still have that question mark with it, but I have to give Jarry credit where it's due. He's been standing on his head for the most part this season, especially against elite competition, because the Pens this year and this stat may surprise some of you down in the comments below. The Pens are 4th this season in the league in save percentage. And that's with a duo of Nedeljkovic, who's been really good against the bottom feeders. For lack of a better phrase, that's just how I have to put it. But I think Nedeljkovic is a really good complement to Jarry, and Jarry just needs to keep doing what he does when his number gets called up. But yeah, I just wish that the defense would step up a little bit more, especially the transition defense, and Sullivan would give players the ample amount of time out on the ice. Without getting too analytical into it, I can come to a conclusion that this Pens team, I don't know if I should call them mediocre. I don't know if I should call them great. But I would say this team, they are a good month away from really asserting themselves back into the playoff hunt. I really do think that if this team does meet their stride at the end of this, towards the end of this month and for at least most of February, and we know March is Mike Sullivan's best month when it comes to his head coaching tenure with the Pens, I really do think this team can head back to the playoffs. They can take at least one playoff series win, but you got to be able to stand up to the bigger teams in this conference. Teams like New Jersey, teams like the Rangers, teams like Carolina, especially teams like Boston. And I know they had a thrilling win against the Bruins a couple weeks ago, but still, you can never truly overlook the Bruins for as underwhelming in the playoffs as they've been, but still, they're always a threat. So in conclusion, this Pens team has been performing way better than what I thought they've been doing, but there's still some things about them that need to be adjusted, and I really think that this second half is the perfect opportunity for them. You got 2.5 months left of the season, and like I said, they're not completely out of it. They just need one good month, in my opinion, to really turn things around and to really shape things up. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you guys think about the Pens so far this season? And this is Mac checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.